Hey everybody, I'm back and we are ready to move on with the next step in our geode. If you have just joined my Patreon, please scroll down the page and find the first 4 parts of this so that you get all of the instruction and know where we're at in this project. For those of you who have been following along, we have our canvas prepped front and back. We have our guides painted on here the way we want them. Everything is ready to go. Our next step is to actually get this canvas ready to pour resin on it. And as you know, canvases have give. They're not a solid surface like a wood panel, so we actually need to support this from the back. Now, there's different ways to do this. You can turn this upside down, pour resin over it, a fairly thick layer of resin, and leave it upside down until the resin is cured. Not just dry, but completely hard cured. Depending on how long your resin takes to cure, that can take several days. Resin, as you guys also know, is expensive. So I've got a different option for you. What we are going to do is we are going to use this foam core board. You can pick this up at any craft store. Most dollar stores carry this stuff. I buy mine at my local Dollar General for $1 a sheet. So we need to know how big to cut this. Well, it just so happens that my foam board is almost the same width as my canvas, so I won't have to cut much off of this way, but I do need to measure between my stretcher bars here to make sure that it fits as tight as possible. So I've got my ruler, and that is, it looks like an 8 inches, not quite an 1/8 of an inch, like 8 inches and a 1/16 of an inch. Because I want this to fit really tight, I am going to go ahead and cut it to 8 inches and 1/8 inch. Okay? So let's get our foam core back here. And I am going to measure this. Just make some marks with my pencil. I want that at 8 and 1/8 inch. I'm going to make a mark in the center. At, of course, the same measurement. And I am going to make a mark, whoops, sorry about the jiggle, on this side, so that I get a nice straight line when I cut. Okay, there we go. Now, and guys, please excuse my sniffles. I'll try to edit out as much as I can. You guys know I've been sick, but it's time to get back at it. So here is a cutting mat that I have. It's just an old one I keep. I've got laying around. I'm going to put my foam on my cutting mat, obviously. And I have a nice sharp X-Acto knife here. And this is just the kind you get at the hardware store or the dollar store. I'm lining up my ruler to my marks that we made. And we are going to just cut along that straight edge. Just like so. I'm going to scooch this down. Again, I'm going to line up my ruler with my marks. Go ahead and cut that through, just like that. This does not have to be perfect. It's simply a backer. Okay, now, in order to get it to fit inside my canvas, this way, see how nice and tight that is? I'm going to put that here. I'm going to mark this side right there. I'm going to mark this side right here. And I'm just going to cut in between those 2 marks that I just made. Just like that. Okay. So we can get rid of those. Let's bring our canvas back. And this should be a very nice tight fit if I have done it correctly. And it is a tight fit, which I like. I'm actually going to turn this over. Now you can also use cardboard for this. That's almost too tight. I can't quite get it in there, which is okay. I'd rather have it too tight than loose. Always err on the side of too tight. So I'm just going to shave off a very tiny little bit of this in order to make that fit. And again, I'm using my straight edge because you don't want it all wonky. Okay, get rid of that. Okay, let's see if this is just perfect. See, I really have to push it to get it in there, but it will go. And I want to push that all the way down to the table. See there? Just like so. Just like that. Okay? So now when we flip it over, nice and firm. There we go. Next step, and this is up to you. On this particular geode, I am going to tape so that I don't have any resin going over the edges. If you want your resin to pour over the sides, I suggest you carry your pattern onto the edges of your canvas and simply tape the back. We are going to start with the back, and all you need for this, guys, you need obviously some tape. And again, this is just standard masking tape. That's all I use. And you're going to need a popsicle stick or a craft stick. And I am just going to start in one corner. And tape around the canvas. I'm pressing it down with my hand. We will go back and burnish it with our popsicle stick like this all the way around. Get that really stuck, okay? Gonna take my little craft knife, trim off that tape, and continue on around in the same way. We're going to line that up with the edge just like we did before. Stick it down, trim that edge. Okay guys, here I am again. We're going to burnish this down. Make sure it's really stuck. Okay, and that's that. Now your next decision is going to be, do you want to put your tape flush with the top of your canvas, or do you want it to stick up and create a dam? I am actually going to create a dam around my canvas, and which way you do it is up to you. So what I want to do to create that, I want my tape to stick up over the edge. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it right on that edge so that it's flush with the bottom. See that? Pull that corner tight, just like that. Then I'm going to pull this down. Excuse my dry hands here, guys. It's January 1st in Iowa. Everybody here is dry. It's just the way it is. Okay. Pushing that down with my hands, with my fingers. Now, you can also lay it down to do this. And just put your tape right along your table. and do it that way. Either way's fine. But I am just going to continue to work my way around my canvas. And you want to pull this tight. You don't want it all loosey-goosey. You want to pull that tape so that it's nice and taut. Push it down with your hands. And what I do, that I don't know if everyone does this, but the way I do it is I actually go around my canvas more than once. Okay? So I'm going to go around it again. So on our second time around, I want to make sure you can see these corners. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to pull that corner tight. I'm going to pull this tape down and I'm going to pull it really tight. I'm really pulling on that. And wrap it around that corner. Stick those two pieces of tape together. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to hold this corner with my finger, make a nice sharp corner, and I'm going to pull that tape really tight. Okay. Sorry about the sniffles, guys. I apologize. I'm a day behind getting this tutorial up for you. I hate being behind, so just trying to go with the flow. Put my finger there, make that point nice and sharp, that corner. Pull this tape tight and stick it down. I'm also doing this to stick those two layers of tape together. Okay? And here, hold that corner tight, pull it around. Stick that down, and there we go. I have found that by doing this, my resin edges tend to be, one, straighter, and two, my tape doesn't catch fire near as easy. Those are the two things I'm most interested in. Okay? So there we are. Our canvas is now completely prepped. We're ready to pour resin. So let's mix some resin. I'm going to do that off camera. If you need help mixing resin, scroll back into some of my other videos. Check it out there. And I'm not going to mix a lot of resin, guys. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to start to build our centers, and we're going to put this gold down. So we're going to work on our two centers. We're going to put our first layer of gold on our canvas. So I'll be back in just a bit with my mixed resin. Hey guys, in the middle of filming that, I realized I had forgotten a very important step. So I'm inserting it here. You need to make sure your canvas is level. And as you can see, this is just a blank canvas. This is not the one we're working on. I have an app on my phone that is called Bubble Level. I love it. I use it all the time. That's how I do it. You can pick up a level at your local hardware store. You only need a 6 or an 8-inch level, all of about $5-6. Okay. Now, the other thing I forgot to mention is if your tape is going to be level with the edge of your canvas, you need to lift your canvas off your table. And what I use to do that are these cute little painter's feet. And I get mine at Lowe's. You get 10 for $5, super economical. If you don't have those, guys, just use cups. Doesn't have to be fancy. So my canvas, we created a dam with the tape, so I don't need this. I can leave my canvas flat on my surface. If you're going to let your resin run over the edge of your canvas, you'll want to elevate that canvas either with a little painter's triangles, or like I said, just with some regular cups works just fine. Nothing wrong with it. So guys, level your canvas. If your resin's going to run over, lift your canvas. Let's get back to our project. Okay guys, we're back. Now, what I didn't do before our little intermission, I didn't burnish my edges with my popsicle stick. So I am going to do that now. I really don't want this to seep through, if I can help it at all. I'm not worried about it leaking onto my table. I just don't want to have to clean it off the side of my canvas. Now, honestly, it still might. There are no guarantees, but okay, there we go. So now I've got my resin mixed. It is resting. And by resting, I mean I just set it aside for a few minutes and let the bubbles rise to the top. And I will pop those before I start using it. I also have pulled out my Mainspring Gold. This is the Royal Gold. I'm going to be using this. And I have this custom glitter mix that I make myself. And what that is that is simply the Walmart glitter. It is the 24 karat and the champagne gold mixed 50-50. It makes the perfect gold to go with this Mainspring. So that's how I do that. I have also pulled out my Counterculture DIY mica white because we are going to need some whites for our centers. Not very much, but a tad. And I have pulled out some various textures. Okay. So I have pulled out 6 textures. Now I might not use all 6, but I have all 6 ready. So I have my quartz bits. If you want a recap of these, please go back to the Basics 1 video. It was the first video in this series. And you can get all the details where I buy these there. I have my shattered mirror glass. I have some large acrylic gems and some small acrylic gems. I have some very simple colored glass pieces. And I have the mirror glass in the blue. Those are the textures I've pulled out. Okay. Now I want to start with my centers. Drop and crap. So that's where we're going to begin. I want to get some of this out of the way. So I want to work on this center over here and this one here first. Incidentally, I'm not going to need, sorry about that, I'm not going to need any of this dark blue because that will come up through the clear resin and it will show. So I think I'm going to start with just some very simple crushed quartz pieces, and I'm going to put those around here where that white is. Okay. And guys, you can build your centers any way you like. You don't have to put textures in the middle if you don't want to. There's nothing wrong with leaving them flat or with just using glitter in your centers. I like a lot of texture in my pieces, so I like to put that down. Okay, I'm also going to put some over here in this white band. And you can see it's not flat, I'm kind of piling it up because I want it to stick up above my resin. Okay, next I think I'm going to use some of this lighter blue, and I'm going to put some of that in there, in the center. And again, it will pick up the darker blue from underneath because we've painted that center of the darker blue. And we're going to put some over here as well. I don't glue mine down in advance. You can, if that's your preference. Some people do. I prefer not to. But if that's something you want to do, you certainly can. I don't see a real point to it because the resin is going to hold it in place. But that's, again, up to you. Okay, now for this outside blue ring, I'm going to use this blue mirror glass. And guys, this won't be the only layer of texture I put on this center. This is just the first layer. Okay, this is just to start things off. go. And again, I'm not putting it down one piece at a time. I'm just kind of piling it up. It will look more natural. You don't want these lined up like little soldiers. Okay, and I'm also going to put some over here. I got to tell you guys, my nose is really running. Oh, there's going to be a lot of editing with this one. Okay, so now we are ready to add some resin. So I've got my resin here. You can see it's really bubbly. All the bubbles have risen to the top, or most of them. And I am just going to slide this out of the way so you can see. There we go. I've got my heat gun, and I'm simply going to turn it on and blow those bubbles out. And guys, honestly, if I would mix my resin properly, I wouldn't have all those bubbles. I mix my resin like I'm stirring cake batter. And that's not the way you're supposed to mix your resin. But that's just me. Okay. Now we need some cups and some stir sticks. I don't need near that many cups, but okay. I'm going to start with 3. The first one I want is going to just be clear resin. So we're going to put some clear resin in that cup. This one I'm not going to need much. It's going to be that pearl white or that mica white. Don't need much of that at all. And this one is going to be our gold, and we're going to need a little more. Okay. So let's get this counterculture white. And I don't need much in here, guys. I just need enough to color the resin. So, and there's not much resin in my cup. So just a little dab will do ya. Doesn't take much of that. Gonna stir that in. And again, there I go, stirring my resin like cake batter. Okay, there's that white. Really pretty white. And this cup is probably gonna surprise you what I'm gonna do here. I've actually got too much resin in there. I gotta pour some back. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of my May Spring Gold and I'm going to put that in there. And you can see I didn't use much. I'm going to stir that in really well. See that? And then guys, I'm going to add my glitter right to it. And the reason I put the mica in first is so that when I pour this, the resin is going to spread a little, as you guys know. Well, if it was clear resin, it would spread out and be clear. I don't want that. When it spreads out a little bit, I want it to be gold. Okay? And I keep a little stick in there for scooping it out when I need to. I'm just going to pour it in, and I'm going to pour in a lot. I basically filled my cup. So now I'm going to stir this into this resin. And that glitter, guys, will instantly help thicken that resin up a little bit. I don't want it too thick. I still want this pourable for this layer. If you get it too thick, just add a little more clear resin to it. That's all you got to do. Okay? There we go. So let's bring our canvas back down where you can see it. Let me check. There we go. All right, let's start with our clear. I need a popsicle stick. And we are just going to do this blue in the center. I don't want a lot of white under that. And I'm just drizzling that on very lightly. You don't need to don't just dump it on there, just a drizzle. Just a dab will do ya. Here is our white. And same thing. Don't go crazy with it. We're just going to drizzle it. Kind of drizzle the center because it will spread in all directions. Okay. And then again, I want the clear over top of my blue. We're going to drizzle that on. And again, right kind of in the center of that, because it'll spread in both directions. Okay. At this point, I'm going to take my torch and I'm going to pop the bubbles. That's also going to heat up the resin, and the resin is going to spread out a little bit. Okay. I just put a new butane tank on my torch, so it's like wild child crazy. Now I want to take this gold, and I got my gold a little too thick, quite honestly. I need to add some clear in that to loosen that up some. There we go. Stir that in, get the glitter and that pigment powder we put in there mixed in. There is some nasty soap opera on today. Yeesh. Turn that down. Okay, so this I'm going to put on this outside ring. And I'm going to put that right up against those blue stones. Because it's okay if a little bit of that goes under my blue. I don't want a lot of it under my blue, which is why I put the clear on. Got a little bit there. I'm just going to wipe that off. No big deal. Okay. And again, you need to remember that your resin is a liquid. It's not going to do exactly what you want it to do. It helps that I've thickened it with my glitter, but it's still a liquid. Always default to putting less resin on your canvas than you think you need. You can always add. Kind of hard to take away. I am a sniffling mess this afternoon. Okay, and we're just going to keep adding that. Right up next to that blue glass that we put down. I actually dribbled a little bit over my glass there. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to move on. Like I said, that's not going to be our only layer of glass. That's just the first layer. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to move over here to this corner and I'm going to repeat my process. So we're going to start with our clear. We're going to put a little clear over. Let me use my left hand so you guys can see a little better. I'm going to put a little clear over these blue stones, or this blue glass rather. Okay. Now we're going to put some white in there. And I'm going to go right down the center of that clear glass so that it can spread from side to side. And I'm going back to the clear again. And again, right down the center of that crushed glass so it can spread. There we go. I'm going to take our torch. Don't need much of a flame in that corner. I don't need a fire. There we go. Oh, and there's a fire. Spoke too soon. Just blow them out, guys. If it catches fire, don't panic. Just blow it out. Do keep a fire extinguisher in your art room. There's a safety tip for you. Okay, and I will have to retape that little spot once this layer is dry. Oh boy, does that stink. Whew. Okay. Going right up along that edge again. Wipe that off. If you get little drips, guys, don't panic. Just wipe it off and move on. Okay? It's not a big deal. And I don't know if any of you have seen it, but I have added a second tier to my Patreon. I added a gold tier that you're going to get all of your art tutorials like you do on the silver tier. You're also going to get help with marketing and monetizing your art, setting goals, conquering your fears. That's a big one for all of us. So if you might be interested in that, check it out. In the meantime, we're going to keep moving right along with this. Okay, so now I've got my centers, the first layer of my centers done. And I'm pretty happy with them. That's not the final look. So if they look a little boring to you compared to my usual centers, it's because that's just the first layer. Now what I want to do is I want to put the first layer of this gold down. And guys, I put my gold before my other colors because I want it to create a shadow effect in some places. So if you put it down first, then as you pour your other colors, it will cover the edges or part of your gold and create those gold shadows. Does that make sense? So I'm going to start out, and these guys, if this gets whiter than what I have it, I'm not going to worry about it because that will just create more shadow in that spot. Some of this gold will show through or will be showing. Some of it I will put more layers on and build it up so that it does show. Okay? When you look at my pieces and you see those gold shimmery shadows underneath the white, this is how I get that look. This is how I achieve that. Okay. So there's that one. We've got this big gold line here. So let's do it. You can see my resin glitter mixture here is quite thick. And I want it thick. I want to be able to control that a little bit. I want that to stay where I want it to stay. Like I said, I don't mind if it, because when I torch this to get those bubbles out, it's going to spread a little more. So these will end up being wider than what you see now. I don't mind that. That's not going to bother me, even a little. And if it surprises you that I put my glitter on first, it is because I like to create those shadows under the white. Okay, that is the whole purpose for it. I like to have the gold shadows. Some of this will peek through and show. A lot of it will just end up being a shadow when we're done. Guys, in case you're wondering, I am working on my Love Life mat that they sent me to review and to try. So far, I really like it. I've been sick, so I really haven't had much of a chance to use it. I used it a little bit last week. So far, I like it. I haven't made a final decision on it yet. When I do, I'll let you know. I want to do some experimenting with it before I endorse it, I guess. I don't want to endorse something and then turn around and decide I don't care for it all that much. So I'll have to let you know. Okay, again, I want to keep my torch low for this. A little more than that. And that's just because I have a new tank of gas on here, guys. And it tends to get really hot really quickly. Want to go over those centers again, and that's it. And I think, give me just a second here. Guys, I've got resin left and I've got time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit on this dark blue. Hadn't planned that, but that's what we're going to do. Let me grab some blue resin, or excuse me, some blue glitter. And guys, this is my Martha Stewart dark blue glitter. I like this glitter, it's really pretty. And I've got this clear resin here. I'm just going to pour some in there. Like so. Now the idea here, guys, is on this is not to pour different colors of resin side by side. So I'm not going to pour any of these whites next to my golds. I'm not going to put any of the blue or this glitter next to this gold. I'm letting each color, I'm keeping each color separate. I like to have distinct lines in my geodes or rings so that it looks the way I like it to look. And that's how I do that. So I think we will put down some of this quartz. We're going to put some here. I like to put texture in my negative space. I think we talked about that when we were doing our layout and talking about composition. So I'm going to put some texture in this. I think I'll put some up here. Like so. Here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of clear over those, just to kind of hold those in place a little. Okay. And guys, just take your time with your art. You don't have to rush. This is not a race. Okay, now I'm going to take this blue glitter, and I think I want some right up next to those. So I'm going to take this and just drizzle a little bit of it along that edge. Just for a little extra sparkle. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Again, just for some extra sparkle. And then I'm going to take this blue and I want to put it right along this white edge on this side. That blue Martha Stewart glitter is so pretty. I love this one. I need to order another. I get that from Amazon. And guys, for this layer of our geode, we don't need to break out our expensive glitters, okay? We just don't. A lot of this glitter is going to have resin over it. Like the gold, a lot of that gold that we put down will end up being just a shadow. So there's no point in breaking out the expensive glitter. It's a waste of resources, both your glitters that you have to special order from Counterculture or just for you online UK or wherever. And honestly, it's a waste of your money. Save your money. So let's get the bubbles out of this. There we go. And I think as long as I've got this blue mixed, I'm going to go ahead and put some here. Not necessarily anything thick, just a drizzle. Just like drizzling icing on a cupcake or a cookie. And for that, I'm not going to use my torch. I'm going to use my heat gun. Warm that up. Give that a quick little heat. I'm going to take a look and see what I think. I think I like that. I think I'm going to drizzle a little more on there. Because remember, guys, this is just the first layer of this glass. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Oh, well. There we go. I like that shimmer in there. I think I'll do that on this side as well. Because I'm just liking it. Get rid of the bubbles. Now, when I come back, guys, my next step is going to be to take my acrylic gems, so a little larger pieces. So if you're following along, you'll want to find some larger pieces. Not necessarily these, but something a little larger. Some sort of stone or acrylic. That's going to be it for us for this layer. I'm going to use up all my leftover resin, I believe in a coaster mold. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.